So, you know, I'm always I'm a firm believer because principles and reasons matter. That if there's something that the private sector can do, then we should have the private sector do it, and the government does what it needs to do. But the goal is to look for ways to consolidate and save taxpayer money. Too many times, you know, our government is spending money like it's not their own. You need to treat it like it's your own money, and you'd be much more prudent with it if it was.
Do you agree with that, candidate Smith? That's private sector first, and then the government.
Again, I would have to look at both and weigh both to just make a blanket statement and say I would go one way or the other without seeing the facts and the figures. No, I can't. I can't say that. I mean, it's not really fair to say, because then if I would get into a situation and I would go the other way, people would say, well, you said this. Well, I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a case by case. You know, if you could be a building department versus the health department, you have to go case by case, and I think you have to look at all the figures and facts and the intricacies. But bottom line is the best service that you can give to the taxpayer, because that's what they're paying for, and for the dollar. So whichever way that comes out best, that's the way I would go.
Would it be fair to say, based on the answer I just heard, that you think that private sector doesn't necessarily do better than the public sector, or perhaps is not equipped to do some things that are expected to be done by the citizens, by the public sector? Is that a fair statement?
I'd say more, they're, depending on what we're looking at, possibly not equipped in some cases. So as much as you'd like to weed down government, and that's not a problem there, okay, sometimes it just isn't practical. But there again, to sit here and give you examples without going through each area strategically and looking at each area thoroughly would just be a blanket answer that is meaningless.
Right. Candidate Mungo, do you want to amplify your answer at all?
Yeah, I'm not saying that the private sector is the answer for everything either.
Okay.
But I'm saying a lot of times, though, exploring private sector options can be an attractive option.
Is that a priority with you, though, private sector?
No, the priority is to look for the best ways to get things done for the best bang for your buck.
So you're not like some politicians are. They just are bananas for the private sector. You take a more circumspect view?
Well, and like Bill said, it depends on what you're talking about. That's such a broad statement.
Right.
So I don't think either one of us are going to categorically say it's always the government or it's always the private sector.
Right.
You look at the individual situation.
Yeah. But some candidates do. Some public officials do. That and so I just wanted to draw both of you out on that too. So because what we're getting here is folks will be able to look at this video and make determinations. Is it going to be Mungo or is it going to be Smith? So I want to give both of you a fair and full opportunity to express your point of view.